Asinibingelele maswahla mahle sinemukele lapha ke esibayeni lodge. Ligama lami ngikhanyisile Mabuza kanti ke lapha sisemsebentini we-Ecsacon 15th Biennial Conference. Lo mhlangano lona ke uhlanganise emavele endlulako kulasiphohlongo kanti ke ongiyade utekade indzaba tetempilo. Bakhona beBotswana, bakhona beSouth Sudan nalamanye ke futhi emavele vekati lase-Africa. Kungimanje sitavele singene kuwo umsebenzi lapho ke kuvulwa khona ngalokho semthethweni kasemhlangano lona utawuphela mhla til-17 enyangeni leSetulu. Asesi uthokotele umsebenzi.
Your Excellency, the Right Honorable Prime Minister, herein represented by the Honorable Deputy Prime Minister, Senator Themba Masuku, Honorable Minister for Health, Senator Lizinkosi, kindly allow me to request the distinguished delegates to embark on the procession by chapters. So as communicated earlier on, I will request the first four countries to go out and then you will hear from me what next. I will request that we move quickly. No. Jangan melihat indikasi pada yang ada banget. Botswana, are you ready?
Botswana, immediately you will hear the sound of the band. You make your possession. We will welcome the Botswana chapter as they come into the hall, and we will give them a big round of applause as they come through. Welcome the Botswana chapter. A big hand to Botswana. of applause for Botswana. We will now welcome the Kenya chapter. We welcome the Kenya chapter. Habari. Yeah, use this one.
Sasa abautani tutanamba wali Kenya, Kenya taifa letu Kenya, Kenya, Kenya nchi yetu Kenya, Kenya, Kenya taifa letu Kenya, Kenya, Kenya nchi yetu. Nguvu zetu za Kenya ni umoja wetu. Mzee alibashiri tukahakikisha, vita hata ndimi zote tutayari. Haki hatukuomba kwani tupoteze. Kenya, Kenya, Kenya taifa letu Kenya, Kenya, Kenya nchi yetu Kenya, Kenya, Kenya taifa letu Kenya, Kenya, Kenya nchi yetu. Nchi nzuri kushinda zote, barani hata pwani hata kote, mashamba hata mbugani unono kote, naweza kutumia mahali popote. Kenya, Kenya, Kenya taifa letu Kenya, Kenya, Kenya nchi yetu Kenya, Kenya, Kenya taifa letu Kenya, Kenya, Kenya nchi yetu. Dunia yatimiza kwa miaka chache, ni wao walisema hakuna haki, na huku watuonya afadhali kufe. Kenya, Kenya taifa letu Kenya, Kenya, Kenya nchi yetu.
A big round of applause for Kenya. Thank you very much, Kenya. Next, the Lesotho chapter, a kingdom in the sky. We welcome the Lesotho chapter. A big round of applause for Lesotho. Wonderful. Again, a big round of applause for the Kingdom of Lesotho. Next is the Malawi chapter. Malawi chapter, you may make your possession. Shall we welcome them? Thank you very much. That was the Malawi chapter. Zikomo, Zikomo. Next, Mauritius, please make your possession. And shall we welcome them with a big round of applause? Mauritius. Namibia, Rwanda, South Africa, get ready. Mauritius, please. Mauritius. After Mauritius, it will be Namibia, so please get ready. Rwanda, get ready. South Africa. You'll be followed by Seychelles. After Seychelles, it will be Tanzania, Uganda, Zambia, Zimbabwe, and Eswatini. Please.
This is the Mauritius chapter. The Mauritius chapter. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Next is Namibia chapter. Namibia chapter. Yes, Namibia, please make a procession. Rwanda. Rwanda, please come forth. Shall we welcome the Rwanda chapter? A big round of applause for the Namibia chapter. And they'll be followed by Mauritius. Seychelles.
Namibia, please. Shall we welcome the Namibia chapter? Rwanda, get ready. That was Rwanda.
Yeah, that was Rwanda.
Okay. Shall we welcome the Rwanda chapter? Oh, Namibia chapter. Yes. A big round of applause for Namibia. Seychelles, are you ready? Seychelles, are you ready? Shall we allow Seychelles to make the procession? All right, Tanzania, please make a procession. Let us allow Tanzania . A big round of applause for Tanzania. A big round of applause for Tanzania. Very big round of applause for Tanzania. Asante sana Tanzania. Thank you very much. All right. Uganda, please be ready. Uganda, please be ready. Shall we welcome Uganda chapter with a big round of applause.
You can hold the bed to support. Depend on the support of Nazi.
A big round of applause for Uganda. Seychelles chapter, please make a procession. A big round of applause for Seychelles. Thank you very much, Seychelles. Now we shall receive Abantu Basenizansi, South Africa. A big round of applause for South Africa. A big round of applause for South Africa. Thank you, South Africa. Danki Siabonga. Zambia, are you ready? Shall we welcome the Zambia chapter and Zimbabwe? Be ready. This is the Zambia chapter. A big round of applause. Another round of applause for Zambia. Zikomo Bambiri. Thank you very much, Zambia. Now we shall welcome Vanhu venyika. Yo vanhu vemuZimbabwe chapter. A big round of applause for my people. Beautiful Zimbabwe, a big round of applause. A big round of applause for Zimbabwe chapter. Now, I don't know what to say to the next chapter. Are you ready? You know yourselves. We shall welcome the Eswatini chapter. Eswatini chapter, please let us move quickly.
Aveva bangena la eslava va pumare vabbè le spese stava scrivendo con
One, two, we go. Eswatini chapter. Ladies and gentlemen, shall we welcome the Eswatini chapter with a big round of applause. of applause.
Nothing clear.
Thank you very much to the Eswatini chapter. Now I want us to do something that will blow off the roof. We'll give ourselves a big round of applause. As we do that, the Chief Nursing Officer in the Kingdom of Eswatini, Dr. Glory Nsidi, will be coming up to do the lighting of the lamp.
Honorable Prime Minister, President of Japaigo, Dr. Leslie Mankuso, the DG, of the Exa Health Community, Professor Yosua Dansia. The Regional Administrator, Chief Teacher, Teacher, senior officials of the Ministry of Health, distinguished guests, delegates, good morning. Mine is to do the lighting of the candle. It is the tradition of the nursing fraternity. But I would like to start by saying, Your Excellency, allow me to present to you these nurses and midwives coming from the Exa region. These are men and women who chose to provide service to the people of our countries. These are men and women who, when everyone else is asleep, they provide the nursing and midwifery care. These are men and women who are the backbone of the health system. These are men and women who are the first contact in all levels of care. And at times, they are the only health providers. As they serve the nation, they often put their lives at risk of contracting infectious diseases, with some losing their lives, as we have experienced during the COVID-19 pandemic. May I request that we all stand up and observe a moment of silence for the gallant departed nurses and midwives. And as we observe this moment of silence, let us also remember their families. Amen. May I request that all the nightingales who are present here stand up. May I request that we all rise, nightingales. All nightingales. This is the lamp that was shown by our founder of nursing, Florence Nightingale. And in so doing, there is a pledge that we normally cite when we are introduced in this profession. And I will request that we cite this oath. Can I have the next slide, please? The next slide, please. Next slide. I solemnly pledge myself before God and in the presence of this assembly to practice my profession faithfully. I will abstain from whatever is deleterious and mischievous. And will not take or knowingly administer any harmful drug. I will do all in my power to maintain and elevate the standard of my profession. And will hold in confidence all personal matters committed to my keeping. And all family affairs that come to my knowledge. In the practice of my profession. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chloe CB, our very own Chief Nursing Officer in the Ministry of Health. At this point in time, Your Excellency, allow me to request the Reverend who will come up here and lead us in an opening prayer. Reverend Kenon Lamini.
The Lord be with you. Program Director, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed. As I lead us in prayer this afternoon, I would like us to be a communicating congregation. When I say the Lord be with you, I respectfully request that all of us respond and say, and also with you. The Lord be with you all.
And also with you.
Ladies and gentlemen, as I'm about to pray, I just want to make this observation that you are beginning a conference that has a lot to do, if not everything, to do with health issues, with a particular focus on nursing and midwifery. And I want to pray alongside all of us to the author and perfecter of the health and life of everybody. The very one who has declared on several points in the Holy Scriptures, I am the way, the truth, and the life. The very one who has further declared that thieves come to steal, to kill, and to destroy. But I have come that you may have life, and life in abundance. Let me therefore, if I may please, remind all of you of the centrality and the importance of somebody that is a nurse. Especially here gathered, those of you who come from countries within our beautiful African continent. My brothers and sisters, you are partners with God Almighty. Nurses are a very esteemed profession and vocation. They are not just ordinary people. They are partners with God Himself. If you come to think of it in much more concrete terms, that particular section of midwifery, let me call it a section for lack of a better definition. The midwifery point is an airport, it is an immigration port, it is a bus rank, it is a point of arrival. Nobody is a citizen of this world that has not been received by midwives. Now, you begin to realize when God commands that life comes into the world, the hands that partner with God to receive that life, the immediate hands that do so, are the hands of the dedicated midwives. So now, I wish you could look at yourselves and begin to say, we are people that matter. We are indispensable. Because when God brings new life into the world, God does so through the hands of the nurse. Now, if you are a partner with God, like the biblical midwives of the Old Testament, it is therefore imperative upon yourselves to be God-fearers. Nurses have got to be God-fearing people. I can hardly begin to understand how a nurse becomes a nurse and not be a God-fearing person. I think if anyone becomes a nurse, becomes a midwife, and they have no relationship with the God of life and health, that person is misplaced. That person is a square peg in a round hole. Let me begin to draw this to a conclusion. This is some devotion in the abridged form of the word. Did you know, do you want to remember today, that first impressions last? First impressions last. If the midwife who has received this newly born baby is something other than, shall I repeat that? If the midwife that has received this new life into the world is something other than, what do you expect of that child when he grows or she grows and develops? Take, therefore, your work, your commitment, your calling, as serious as that. First impressions last. You receive this child with hands that have nothing to do with godliness. That child has very little option except to become something undesirable. Today, you are gathered together here at Matsapa Biennial to renew and strengthen the function of nursing and midwifery. If anything, may you please go back home to do your best. Translate your services, health services, from being average to being the best. In the name of God, I call upon you to be reminded that you are supposed to do your best to present yourselves to God as one approved, a work person who does not need to be ashamed and correctly handles the word of truth and the service of nursing. As you deliberate, take an honest evaluation, introspection of how much good you have achieved in your pledge, in whatever commitment, and then pitch up the notch of your services and strategies to befit the status of being God's partners in good health. My brothers and sisters, God is counting on you. Please don't let God down. If you let me down, it's not so serious. But if you let God down, who has given you the privilege to be nurses. It's something else. Let us pray. Our gracious Heavenly Father, we pray for your sense of enlightenment of minds for all delegates here gathered. We pray for continual good health of each one of them here. We pray, Heavenly Father, for those that will be facilitating in presentations and in other ways for the success of this conference. Father, we pray for the peace and stability of the Kingdom of Eswatini and other African countries in this continent represented here. We pray for the peace of the world, and we pray for your presence amongst us. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Thank you very much, Reverend Dlamini. Shall we encourage him with a round of applause? I have a very important announcement that I want to make. Amongst us are delegates whose luggage got misplaced somehow along the way. Please, if you are one of those, you are requested to go to the reception and register that, or send a WhatsApp message to the following number: 7604 0177. Of course, you start with the +268 7604 0177. They will assist you. Your Excellency, the Right Honorable Prime Minister, herein represented by the Honorable Deputy Prime Minister, Senator Themba Masuku, Honorable Minister for Health, Senator Lizinkosi, Manzini Regional Administrator, Prince Gija, Ecsacon President, allow me to call you K. Hwabi, Exa Health Community Director General, Professor Yosua Damisia, the President of International Council of Nurses, Dr. Pamela Cipriano, the President of JAPICO and CEO, Dr. Leslie Mancuso, distinguished delegates in the House, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I got carried up and forgot to introduce myself. My name is Simon Zwane, and I'm going to be directing this official opening, as I have already started anyway. It is indeed a great honor for me to do that in this very big event. So it's going into my CV. At this point in time, Your Excellency, as we are gathered here in this conference, whose theme is Nursing and Midwifery Around the World, an investment to attain universal health coverage and the SDGs. We are very excited to have the delegates that we have seen as they made their procession earlier on. Allow me, Your Excellency, to request Prince Gija to welcome you and all the delegates into the Manzini region. You know what? We've been dancing and dancing. We're not allowed to. But shall I request the Prince to come and welcome us to Manzini.
Thank you, Honorable Director, Dr. Swane. Your Royal Highness who are here with us, the Honorable Prime Minister being represented by Honorable Deputy Prime Minister, Honorable Members of Parliament who are from local parliament and those from outside our borders, Honorable Ministers, also especially Minister of Health who are here about, those who are from local parliament and those from outside our borders, Excellencies of the Diplomatic Corps, heads of UN agencies, President and her leadership team of the East, Central and Southern African College of Nursing, local organization committee, conference delegates from all member states, representatives of civil society organizations here with us, distinguished guests, media houses, and security personnel, not forgetting our beautiful band over that side. Ladies and gentlemen, Sanbonan, Kumelang. You taught me something. How to say hello? Jambo. Jambo. Habari. Yes. I am fascinated. I want to learn all the African languages. I can only try the 3 now, but very soon I'll be learning more. It is my honor and pleasure, also my duty, to welcome all our guests, delegates, to the Manzini region, which is centered as the heart of the Kingdom of Eswatini. I said something to my Honorable Deputy Prime Minister a number of times that the Manzini region is a vibrant region, and we are here in Matsapa, which is an industrial town of Manzini, which is also vibrant. This region is where all good things begin. All important and very essential conferences that, like the one we're having now, they take place in this place. So feel at home. I will be Mangami. I was made aware the East, Central and Southern Africa Health College of Nursing was established in 1990 in Malawi. Please don't say I'm wrong, I was told. So I'm not wrong. This college was established as an executive arm of the Commonwealth Regional Health Community Secretariat for East, Central and Southern Africa in the area of nursing and midwifery. It was approved by the Council of Health Ministers of the East African, East, Central and South African countries. I'm also told it is about improving quality of health of the communities in the region through delivery of quality health care services. The major aim of the conference is to bring together nurses, midwives, and other health professionals across the region and beyond to share knowledge and exchange professional experiences for the purpose of improving the quality of healthcare services. I am also made aware the last conference that was hosted in this country Kingdom of Eswatini was 1998, and I believe at that time we were still living in an old country which disappeared. Now we're in a new country which is called Eswatini. That country in 1998 was Swaziland, but it has gone now. There's Kingdom of Eswatini. Honorable guests and delegates, please allow me the opportunity on behalf of all the major stakeholders of the Manzini region to thank the health sector for all the hard work done, the risk taken in saving our lives during the COVID-19 pandemic. I want to say to you, it was worth doing, taking that risk. That's why I'm proudly standing here alive today through your efforts. I would like to ask and say, please continue with the same spirit of hard work and dedication to the health of our population. To our international delegates, please make sure you get time to explore Manzini as an attractive tourist site. Manzini has a lot of tourist attraction sites, shopping centers, and beautiful markets. Please make sure you don't miss that. Find time to visit those areas before you leave the country. That goes to even the local delegates. Nobody said no, domestic tourism is prohibited. It's not in this region. Please visit the markets around Manzini if you are from other regions of the country. In fact, there are 4 regions in this country for the interest of those who are coming from outside our borders. And Manzini is the 4th region and it's the biggest region, as well as it is the most vibrant region. Maybe I have to mention something. I shouldn't be afraid to mention that Manzini, during the time of the COVID pandemic, we have been given so many names here in Manzini, like we are the hotspot of the COVID. We are the most affected, but I also want to say thank you to the health sector who worked tirelessly to bring it to a safe position now. We are all safe here. Just feel free. COVID has been wiped out, not completely, but to a safe breathing level. So thank you to those, to the health minister and the health sector who actually worked hard. A job well done to them. You can give them a clap. I think I've spoken too much. My job here was to welcome my Deputy Prime Minister standing in for the Prime Minister and to welcome you all. Whatever I said before, I was just working my way to say you are all welcome. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. A round of applause for the regional administrator. Now we can dance and sing and do whatever is good. Now that we are welcome to the Manzini region. At this point in time, allow me to invite the Ecsacon president. And again, please indulge me, madam, to call you Kay Kwabi, to come and say a few remarks in this August house. Please.
to Director of Ceremonies, Dr. Zwani. Your Excellency, the Right Honorable Deputy Prime Minister, Minister of Health, Senator Lizinkosi, Manzini Regional Administrator, CEO, President of JAPEGO, Dr. Leslie Mankuso, President of the International Council of Nurses, Dr. Pamela Cipriano, Director General, Ecsacon Community, senior officials here present, our Reverend Lamini, distinguished guests and delegates, the media house here present, good afternoon to you all. Your Excellency, I'm humbled to be standing here today on this very important occasion. It has been said, I think, but I will just briefly repeat that Ecsacon is a 16-member state college for nurses and midwives, which was established in 1988 by the Health Ministers' Conference resolution, and it was officially inaugurated in 1990 in Malawi by His Excellency the late President Dr. Kamuzu Banda. The primary goal is to improve the quality of health of communities through programs that strengthen nursing and midwifery education, practice, research, and leadership and management. Your Excellency, Ecsacon Scientific Conference is a biennial event which is held on rotational basis among the member states. And I'm happy to inform you this afternoon that this is the second time we are in Eswatini holding this conference. The first one was in 1998, and it was officiated by His Majesty the King Mswati III. What is unique about this one, Your Excellency, is that it is combined with our quadrennial congress, where the college will be electing new leadership. And I want to inform you, Your Excellency, that I'm now left with 4 days to hand over the baton to the coming president and next Ecsacon leadership. This conference should have been held in 2020 from our 2018 conference. But unfortunately, due to the unseen circumstances, COVID-19 pandemic came and it made it impossible to have our conference in 2020. However, having watched cautiously how events evolved according to the disease, we eventually had our conference in 2021 in Arusha, Tanzania. Your Excellency, Ecsacon continues improving the quality of health of the communities through strengthening the contribution of nurses and midwives. Ecsacon has led several important regional initiatives to build capacity in nursing education, nursing regulation and practice over the last 3 decades. As I've said, it was formed in 1990. It means this is our 32nd year. Your Excellency, allow me to state that the contribution of nurses and midwives in the health system in any country cannot be overemphasized. It is worth noting that recently the 3 studies that were released which I'm proudly here stating that Ecsacon was a contributor to those studies, which I will namely say the State of the World Nursing Report and the State of the World Midwifery Report, as well as a report that we did in collaboration with our partners as Ecsacon, which we call the Exa-Health, Nursing and Midwifery, Education and Labor Markets Study. These three reports, Your Excellency, they had a lot in common, probably because the information was coming from us, and these findings of this report pointed out that there is a critical shortage of skilled nurses and midwives in the world, but more pronounced in sub-Saharan region where we belong. Furthermore, other studies, Your Excellencies, have shown that more than 80% of the population in low-income countries cannot access health services because of lack of sufficiently trained health workers. Most countries face absolute or relative shortage of nurses and midwives, sometimes both. Those shortages are critical challenges to achieve the universal health coverage as well as the SDGs, and they need to be addressed by investing in nursing and midwifery. It is on this ground, Your Excellency, that Ecsacon has found the opportune time to start specialized training for nurses and midwives, to close these gaps of skills shortages and also to reduce shortages of the nursing and midwifery workforce. We are planning to start collegiate trainings which will allow the nurses and midwives to be attending school at the same time continuing with their work. We believe that.
Thank you very much, Madam President, for that. And you spoke so well. The policymakers are right in front of us in this table, who will have to make it a point that resources are available for the trainings that you've talked about. And we welcome you, honorable members of both houses of parliament. At this point in time, ladies and gentlemen, may I request the women regiment. It's called Lutsango. Lutsango. the last piece that they are going to be doing. Last piece. And we give them a big round of applause. I think it's time. You will be kind because of the setup, but yeah, you get another opportunity. Thank you very much. These are healthcare professionals. So they don't deal with the needles only, they also do some kind of entertainment. A big round of applause to them as well. Once more, thank you very much. At this point in time, Your Excellency, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I will request Professor Joshua Dambisa, who is the Director General of the Exa Health Community. Just a bit about this man. I have known him for many years. One thing that you cannot take away from him is his humility. He is a professor, but a very humble man. He has led this organization under very, very challenging times, but he has steered on steady. And I want us to honor him with a very big, warm welcome as he comes up to the stage. Professor.
Thank you very much, Dr. Simon Zwane, the Director of Programs. Your Excellency, the Right Honorable Deputy Prime Minister, representing His Majesty's government at the opening of this conference, Your Royal Highnesses within our midst, my Honorable Minister of Health, Senator Liz Nkosi, members of both houses of Parliament of the Eswatini government, our host, the regional administrator of Emanzini, our partners from afar to sight, but a few of my sisters, Leslie and Pamela, who found it imperative to join us on this occasion. Senior officials from the government of the Kingdom of Eswatini, the nursing fraternity, ably headed by our President, Madam Kio, members of the forces, states, the media, thank you for covering this occasion for us. Our various partners from civil society and the private sector, whose support we do not take for granted, colleagues from the rest of the EXA Health Community family, including other colleges such as the College of Surgeons that is represented here by their president, Professor Muguti. If you could stand up for recognition. And my colleagues from the EXA Secretariat, good afternoon, and I wish also to add my word of welcome to us all as we open this conference. Reverend Lamini, you tickled my thoughts and provoked me to think beyond what I should say this afternoon. Thank you so much for the edifying message. And I think we have all taken your message to heart, because it helped us reboot and reset to where we ought to be. The 15th Biennial Scientific Conference of the EXA College of Nurses and Midwives, which also serves as the 7th quadrennial conference. When I look around the room, couldn't have been held in a better place within our region. I therefore wish Your Excellency, on behalf of my fellow participants, to most heartily thank His Majesty's government through you, through my minister and my peers, for the generosity of spirit, the generosity of the resources you have put at our disposal to ensure that such a gathering is able to be held, especially at a time when all our economies are merely beginning to recover from the ravages of the COVID pandemic. We do not take such generosity for granted, and I wish that all fellow participants could clap for the government and the organizing committee for this gesture. I shall not take a lot of time this afternoon, because a lot will be said and a lot has already been said. But just to remind the nurses and midwives within our midst and those who are joining us online of the envious position you hold as a profession. If I may declare a conflict of interest, I'm a doctor. I'm a medical doctor. And it is something I try to be proud about. But when I was trying to guide my niece on what kind of career she should take, I said, should I be a doctor like you? I said, well, if you can, why not? I said, but every time I hear about people doctoring things, it doesn't sound very good. It got me thinking, and the Reverend knows that sometimes a lot of truth comes from the mouth of babes. So suddenly I realized that being a doctor maybe wasn't what it was cut out to be. Because when you are saying to doctor something, it is not something to aspire to. And then say, but uncle so-and-so is an engineer. But again, I hear about people engineering election results and this and that. So that didn't sound nice to her as well. So, but anytime there is any problem, we refer to whatever is done in terms of nursing. Nursing the economy back to health, nursing this. So, from the mouth of this babe, I realized that it is the nursing profession that you can use as a verb and as a noun without any derogatory connotation. Please feel proud of that. You can be a nurse as a verb, and when you do nursing, everybody understands that you are helping put things back to where they ought to be. And for that, we are very proud of you. My final comment will ride on some of the things that have been stated here. That as you put your lives on the front line during the COVID pandemic, you did Africa as a whole proud. Honorable Minister, you will recall the kind of fears we had as a continent when we started seeing the level of devastation, the numbers of coffins in very well-resourced countries such as Italy and France, and the common feeling was that once that wave got to Africa, nobody would be left standing. For some reason, whatever magic the nurses pulled out, Africa was devastated, yes, but not to the extent anyone thought it would be. And for those of you that are into operations research, we are waiting for answers. How did you do it to ensure that the devastation in Africa was nowhere what was predicted it would be given our low resource base? How did the nursing profession do that? It wasn't about other professionals. It was about, because you are the people at the bedside of our patients throughout this pandemic. And for that, we thank you most heartily. A final word to the local organizing committee. Thank you so much for bringing together the kind of partnership that is evident in this room. My boss, the PS, has already alluded to the decision makers in our midst. In a lot of the discourse in health, we talk about issues of political will. Now, when we have members of both houses of parliament with us, we have covered the political will from the decision makers' point of view. We have the government represented at the highest level, and therefore you have not only brought together the technical components, but you have brought in that often missing link of the political will. Allow me, on that note, Mr. Guest of Honor and Program Director in turn, to resume my seat and the program proceeds. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to say a few words.
Thank you very much, Prof. Damisa, for those remarks. Earlier on this morning, he came to introduce to me my very own professor, Professor Mkuti here, who comes from Zimbabwe, one of the most learned people in medicine in Zimbabwe. Professor Mkuti here, thank you so much. He has contributed a lot in nursing education, and we are really honored to have you here, sir. Tinotenda Zukuru. Thank you. At this point in time, Your Excellency, may I humbly request the President of the International Council of Nurses, Dr. Pamela Cipriano, to come forth and address us. And we shall welcome her with a hand of applause.
slides coming up, I hope. Let me go ahead and Salmonani. Excellency, Deputy Prime Minister, members of Parliament, our Minister of Health, Ecsacon leaders and delegates, honored guests, all members and students, and all of you who have joined us today. A sincere welcome from the International Council of Nurses. Oops, I think I do need a little help with slides. Is there a magic and technology person here? Who's going to bring my slides up? I hope. I'm going to spend a few minutes talking with you about how we need to invest in nursing and midwifery to secure global health. And through that, to be able to address primary health care, universal health coverage, and the ways in which nurses and midwives are making an incredible difference around the world, but we can only continue to do that with serious investment in our professions. Can somebody let me know what we're doing with slides? If not, No. Oh, a week ago. Yeah. Go ahead and start, and I apologize that I don't have slides right at the moment. Hopefully we will get them. But I think it's clear that not only have we been emerging from the pandemic and suffering greatly, and will have lingering effects for all of us, no matter whether you were directly on the front lines or whether you were supporting nurses, midwives, other health workers, and families. It has taken a toll. And we also recognize that our world is suffering from not having good health in many of our countries. The Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations, Amina Mohammed, has said, we are far from where we should be, and the pandemic has pushed us further off course. The indicators on poverty, hunger, education, and jobs are all moving in the wrong direction. Humanity faces a stark and urgent choice, a breakdown or a breakthrough. We need a breakthrough. So not only do we need to be talking today about how we want investments in nursing and midwifery, but we need to be sure that our world is investing to secure global health. And that's everything from gender equality, as we're looking at 1 in 3 women are subjected to some kind of abuse or sexual assault in the world, and we know that women make up 80% of our healthcare service providers. New and persistent humanitarian crises. We see that in the floods, we see that in the famine, we see that in crisis of conflict. We see it with the additional changes in our climate that are denying normal food sources and also, again, put lives at risk. We heard about mental health and well-being and the effects that are happening with the changes in our environment, as well as the major stress, again, made worse in the pandemic. Non-communicable diseases, you heard Dr. Stephanie Ferguson today talk about those as well, which continue to claim millions of lives prematurely. And socioeconomic shifts. We know everybody in this room has been experiencing the effects of inflation and some of the other challenges within our own countries. And communicable diseases, and we want to make sure the world is prepared for the next pandemic. So how do we begin to think about how these issues are really affecting us? And what has been the guidance we're supposed to be responding to? We talk about the goal of universal health coverage is to make sure that people receive the health services they need. This has been a global goal for quite some time, and this is where we are very concerned that half the people in the world don't receive the services they need. So even though we're making progress toward UHC, again, we know we've been forced to take a few steps backward in the pandemic. We also know that through poor quality care, we experience over 5 million unnecessary deaths in the world. And we have more and more people pushed into poverty. So universal health coverage is a really important part of infusing the welfare for our people. Now, the continent of Africa, which some of you may know these statistics, is 15% of the global population, over 1 billion people. But you don't have as many nurses. And some of my data will be specific to nurses and some will include midwives. But there's only 8.7 nurses per 10,000 people. And WHO has told us that we really need 25 per 10,000 people to provide the quality and quantity of healthcare that we think is necessary to have universal health coverage. We also know that Africa bears almost a quarter of the world's burden of disease. So we have real challenges that we want to overcome. But we can't do that with the workforce that's currently in place, only having 3% of the world's workforce, but a quarter of the world's disease burden. So now is really the time for transformation. There's a lot of exciting things going on in our world. We have successes to talk about. We are making progress. You are the brains behind applying that progress in every health setting, whether it's in our high-tech environments or our remote communities. So it's everything from following patient preferences and having person-centered care, solving the workforce shortages, which we're all rolling up our sleeves to do, making sure that we are taking advantage of technology, and you heard that this morning as well, having better value for our services and being able to meet those demands. We want every nation to prioritize health as an investment so that we can equalize the differences. If every country focuses on health as an investment, and it is expensive, there's no question. I'm sure our dignitaries and our health ministry know that very well. But we also know that when we provide an adequate workforce that's supported, we actually can reduce our healthcare costs. So it's important to recognize that investing in nurses and midwives is actually going to help us reduce our healthcare costs, and it's going to improve quality of life and outcomes for individuals. It may take some time. But we also know the key to that is primary healthcare. And so we must continue to look at how do we boost the delivery of primary healthcare services to ensure health for all. Now we use our guideposts from the Strategic Directions for Nursing and Midwifery, which is a report that I hope many of you have become familiar with, that was published by WHO 2 years ago and was the focus of the work within, again, many of the leaders here, the National Nursing Association union leaders, the chief nurse officers of countries, the regulators, and our educators, and came together in a triad meeting this past May. There are 4 major areas in this document, Strategic Directions for Nursing and Midwifery, and it's jobs, leadership, service delivery, and education. And so we need those partnerships. We know that when coming together and moving in a forward direction, we will be able to make the improvements that we want to see. So let me just talk briefly about investing in nursing and midwifery education. During the pandemic, 3/4 of countries around the world had disrupted education. Almost 90% had disrupted clinical placements, and over half reported delays to graduation. So we're all suffering from these same setbacks. But we also know in the African region, 74% of your countries have reported having advanced practice nursing positions and programs. That's really important as we continue to advance our practice. We also know that you have 100% of your countries reported standards around the duration and content of education, but less than 2/3 of your nurses are able to access professional development on a regular basis. So we know that we need to make the case for change in education to increase the supply, increase the quality and outcomes, increase retention, and promote career projection. Now, in investing in jobs, there isn't a country around the world that isn't concerned about their nursing and midwifery shortage and on other healthcare support workers. This is the #1 critical issue that we're all facing. And so we're all trying to find solutions. We've been creative. We're making some advances, but we have to continue to act with urgency. There's 2.3 million health workers that emigrate to the United States every year. 24% of those workers were born in Africa. We also know that 90% of nurses who emigrate never return home to practice. So the International Council of Nurses, the World Health Organization, and I think every one of you is very concerned that we are able to manage appropriate and ethical migration. There will always be individuals who want to leave their countries. But we need to make sure that it is done willfully and it is done appropriately, and it is with your leadership that we have the right policies about that. But we are concerned about the shortage of nurses in the world. Right now, we had projected 6 million short by 2030, which is when we're supposed to have the Sustainable Development Goals. But we now think that that number could double. So we need to be focusing together on our education systems and our practice places so that we can continue to work together on addressing the job shortages and how we retool our workforce. The sexual, reproductive, maternal, newborn, and adolescent health workforce also has serious concerns. There's a shortage of more than 900,000 midwives and nurse midwives globally, and almost half of that shortage is in African nations. We also know that only 51% of the recorded needs of care are recorded as being successful in the African region. So again, we're all sharing these concerns about an inadequate workforce. So we need to be able to invest the resources needed for jobs. And we know that the reasons for that are pretty straightforward. We know that we can't save lives without nurses and midwives. We need to be able to meet some of the changing demands. We need to improve access. That's a big part of universal health coverage. And we also need to make sure that we are attracting new individuals to our careers. So we want to invest in service delivery as well, which is very closely tied to investing in jobs. It's all about the conditions of work and the work environment. We need to improve mental health and well-being. We need to care for our caregivers. We need to be able to give recognition. We need to have minimum standards for infection prevention and control, which was also mentioned earlier in terms of some of the safeguards and the safety of our health providers who put their lives on the line every day. We need to be able to collect information about healthcare worker infections. We already know that nurses in particular died at much higher rates during the pandemic. We also need to provide more education and training and make sure that we have, again, a plan for continuous education. We need to implement strategies for state staffing levels, again, a universal challenge, and investigate and publicly report where we have system failures. But overall, it is really embracing a new and serious concern that we want the best work environment for our professionals. We also want to invest in nursing leadership. We know, and midwifery as well, we know leadership is really the key. We must be able to have control of our practice. We must be able to have the right standards for our education. We must be able to have standards for our work environment. And so we want to make sure that we are doing a lot of investment in education. And part of that is also the gender equity issue. We want more women in leadership positions. Only a quarter of leadership positions in healthcare are filled by women. And we need to reverse that because 80% of healthcare workers are women. We need women in leadership roles. I'll share with you just briefly, some of you may not be aware that the International Council of Nurses, with the support of Johnson & Johnson, is starting a new project in African nations to do the leadership strengthening with our national nursing associations so that we not only are building leadership capacity, we're building a success path for the future. And the project is called ODEMA, Organizational Development of National Nursing Associations. It's a 3-year pilot project. It's based on the 3 ICM pillars of professional practice, regulation, and socioeconomic welfare. And so we'll be developing leadership at the individual competency level, at organizations, and then throughout our national nursing organization structures. We know that this 3-year program will involve 22 countries, and 13 of them are Ecsacon members, and our leaders are in the audience here. We're very proud and pleased. And it will be done in 3 phases. So right now we're doing our sign-up and orientation, which will be done by the end of the year. Then we're going to be moving into very specific distributed leadership development programs. And we're very excited that this is one of the next ways in which we can begin to help our African nations with something that they know is very important, and then they can spread throughout the rest of the continent. We know, just in summary, we know benefits of investing in nursing and midwifery are many. Again, I don't need to tell you the impact on patient care, the impact on outcomes, making sure that we're also helping our health system be cost effective, that we want to have patient satisfaction and improved outcomes. We want to increase access and have our nurses and midwives be innovative in changing care delivery models. And we want our nurses and midwives to also experience great satisfaction. I'll share one more little development with you, and that is there is a partnership that the International Council of Nurses has had with the British Broadcasting Company, BBC, came to us, and we were delighted. They saw our work for International Nurses Day, and they said, we want to tell the world what it is that nurses do. So there is a website, Caring with Courage. It's by BBC Storyworks. And they have a number of stories about extraordinary nurses, which we know all nurses are extraordinary, as are our midwives. And the categories are trailblazers, game changers, pathfinders, and guides. And there are 4 stories that are highlighted, and I'll just give you a real brief rundown. The first one from Uganda is about Rose, a TB nurse, and she teaches symptoms and treatment in a little vignette called A Nurse's Calling. I hope you go on to the BBC Storyworks. The second one is called Windows to the Soul, and this is from Kenya. Esselor is the nurse. She's helping people with poor vision, improving the quality of life and diagnosing vision defects. And she makes the case that this is helpful for governments as well as individuals. The third one is from South Africa, A Caring Journey. It's an incredible story. Nurse Fofaka, who is a cancer survivor herself, rides on a train, a Philippa train, and provides cancer screening to rural disadvantaged communities. All kinds of primary cancer prevention and diagnosis and treating of minor illnesses. And then the fourth is also from Uganda, called Raising Voices. Derek, who is quite a comedian, is helping young girls understand, learn about menstruation so that they can manage their monthly periods and not miss school, because he saw the inequity that they were experiencing. I want to leave you with a quote from a previous president of the International Council of Nurses, Margareta Madden-Stiles, who was president from 1993 to 1996. I had the great honor of working with her because she was from the United States. And this is a quote that's actually pretty classic for those who had followed the work. And it says, imagine a world without nurses. Think of a world without persons who know what nurses know, who believe as nurses believe, who do what nurses do, who have the effect nurses have on the health of individuals, families, and the nation, who enjoy the trust that nurses enjoy. And we are all honored as nurses and midwives and other healthcare providers to be involved in the intimate lives of those we serve. We really have a privilege, and we are asking the world to make sure that we are supported with that privilege to be able to continue to provide the best care that we can, investing in our workforce, in our jobs, in our education and service delivery, so we can continue to meet the needs of the health of the world in healthcare. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to Dr. Pamela. Again, another very powerful advocate for nursing issues at a global stage. I can tell you that when she has the opportunity to speak in those big meetings, she speaks so passionately about the issues of nurses and midwives. Thank you once again, Dr. Following her will be remarks from the JAPICO President and CEO, Dr. Leslie Kuso. Let us welcome her with a big hand of applause.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thanks so much.
His Excellency, the Right Honorable Deputy Prime Minister, the Honorable Minister of Health, government dignitaries, EXA Director General, Ecsacon President, nurses and midwives, all protocols observed. I am very excited to be here today speaking to a room full of nurses and midwives. Although I have embraced many titles in my career, business person, advocate, entrepreneur, those close to me know that I consider myself first and foremost a nurse. For 5 decades, JAPICO has had the privilege of working in this region to train a competent health workforce and improve health. Our roots are deep, going back to the early 1970s working with Kenya. In fact, over the years, we worked in all the Ecsacon countries except for 2. We feel at home here, and we share your mission to provide nurses and midwives with the high-quality education, training, and support they need to care for the communities they serve. It's an incredible privilege to be here today with His Excellency, the Right Honorable Deputy Prime Minister and the Minister of Health. Your kingdom and JAPICO share the firm belief in the capacity of this region to create strong health systems that allow countries to care for themselves, to prepare for future pandemics and security issues, to address non-communicable diseases, to ensure primary health care reaches all who need it, to help every child be born HIV-free and live malaria-free, and to help every woman survive in childbirth. All this begins with a well-prepared network of healthcare professionals. The arrival of COVID-19 was a before and after moment for our profession. How the world views nurses and midwives has changed dramatically during these pandemic years. The world has seen your determination, your calm during tremendous pressure, your capacity to innovate when crisis and circumstances demanded it. They've seen you. From the bedside to the surgical room to the boardroom, save countless lives. Today, the confidence the world has in you is coupled with a global healthcare worker shortage that threatens not just our future health, it threatens the significant progress we've already made to improve the health of communities around the globe. Just as your skills and experience are needed more than ever, your levels of exhaustion are reaching record levels. Those working in low and middle-income countries where stockouts and shortages have been so severe, where vaccines continue to lag, have felt these issues even more intensely. So, we must ask ourselves, how will we meet this moment? How will nurses and midwives effectively operate as expectations of what you can and should be doing are rapidly changing? How do we drive a revolution in healthcare? One that meets your needs and the world's health needs, while alleviating rather than increasing your stress. At JAPICO, we've been thinking about these issues since our founding 50 years ago. We've been a leader in health worker education and capacity building. We believe in supporting governments to develop and strengthen sustainable education systems and ongoing professional development.
We've been a leader in supporting governments to strengthen pre-service education, building health professional regulation systems, and strengthening professional associations. When it comes to building capacity of practicing health workers, we must focus not only on learning, but also on data-driven performance. Along the way, we've learned a few things that apply to this moment, things that will help move the health revolution forward. I believe one of the most critical actions that we should take right now is to embrace the growing role of professional associations and councils and Ecsacon in leading the healthcare transformation. That's what makes this such an exciting moment for all of us, because it's an empowering moment. Each of you is part of the healthcare revolution. Japan has a long history in strengthening nursing and midwifery, education systems, associations, and regulatory councils. Why? Because we recognize the power of associations and councils to take a leading role in health workforce development. As borders become more porous, they will play an even greater role in ensuring that quality healthcare provision at a regional level, in ensuring consistent scopes of practice for critical cadres, in creating and facilitating processes for licensure and certification. At the national level, they play a key role in training, absorption, and retention of healthcare professionals. They support evidence-based and professionally accredited pre-service education. They provide digitally enabled, impactful, ongoing, continuing professional development. They promote a variety of learning opportunities and use continuing professional development and relicensure to ensure continued quality service delivery. Today, most WHO countries have a body responsible for regulating nursing. Here in Africa, 68% of WHO member countries require continuing professional development for nurses to keep practicing. Even if the requirements and links to relicensure are not yet enforced in all countries, the use of health professions regulation to ensure education, quality, and protect the public is a global priority and will only increase over time. Associations and councils play a critical role in thinking boldly and broadly about how best to prepare you and keep you prepared for the new world. Each of you is part of this health revolution. Over the past few years, we've learned a lot about what sustainable, impactful approaches for training and absorption and retention really work. We've learned that improving performance with a focus on the learner, on you, when designing learning interventions. Tailoring learning with your needs in mind. Many people think of students when they think of the word learners, but midwifery and nursing require continual learning to stay evidence-based. 200 years ago, when the profession of nursing was born, Florence Nightingale, the founder of modern nursing, already knew this. She said, "Let us never consider ourselves finished. We must be learning all of our lives." It's true. She couldn't foresee your challenges, of course, and how dramatically the work of midwives and nurses would change over the next 2 centuries, but she knew then what we know now. Your success requires constant learning and adaptation. Today, 90% of all healthcare worldwide is provided by nursing and midwives. Given the heavy lift, given what an impact all of you have on the health of communities, we must listen to what the data tells us, what really works to improve your learning and performance, because everything depends on getting that right. From your job satisfaction and retention to the health of your patients. So what does the data tell us? Well, it shows combined training strategies work better than any one strategy. In response, donors and country governments have expanded their investments beyond standalone in-service training and supportive supervision. New approaches in learning investments reached $18 billion US in 2019. By 2025, the global market for online education will be $350 billion. This shift was happening before COVID-19 hit, and it has escalated dramatically since. As lockdown spread, the use of innovative, digitally supported learning approaches exploded. At the same time, the ability to share knowledge across borders became a matter of life or death, seemingly overnight. Across multiple countries, midwives and nurses integrated digital content, used messaging platforms to support mobile social learning, expanded the use of workplace-based or on-the-job training, pushed ministries of health to move into the future. You've been leading, each of you, this transformation. And today, it's clear, digital health is here to stay. Moving the health revolution forward means understanding how you are best supported in the digital age. And each of you is part of the health revolution. Only then can we double down on leveraging technology to help countries transform learning and performance approaches and solutions to ensure an impactful learning journey for health workers anytime, anywhere. When it comes to evidence-based learning, we know what works, and we must be relentless in finding better, faster, and less costly ways to extend learning to the front lines of healthcare. But we can't stop there. The health revolution must go beyond ensuring you're prepared for your job to ensuring that you want to stay in your job. And your desire to stay begins and ends with good working conditions. This means increasing progress on pay equity. It means auditing, hiring, and promotion practices. It means enforcing policies to prevent harassment and violence in the workplace. It means adequate staffing, surge capacity for emergencies, manageable working hours. And it means valuing your mental health. You've heard about that today a number of times. As midwives and nurses, you are trained caregivers. Yet too often, you forget about yourselves. The stress of the pandemic and an increase in workloads have made many healthcare workers put self-care even farther down the list of priorities. But it's during times of increased stress, times like now, that self-care should increase. Self-care is a particularly critical part of good mental health for nurses and midwives in low and middle income countries where few other psychological supports may be available. All of these investments in your learning, in your mental and physical health, in your job satisfaction far exceed their costs. In Kenya, for example, educating a single nurse from primary school to college of health sciences costs about $43,000. Globally, midwives can yield a 16-fold return on investment. So, let's hold on to our nurses and midwives. The economic value of your retention is important. It's important for your job satisfaction. That's why we can't be content with the status quo, why we must push the health revolution forward. Your training, your retention, your well-being, and the world's health depend on it. Chicagos have the privilege of working with many of you in this room on ways to improve health policies affecting nursing and midwifery education and practice, and redesigning education and practice approaches needed to build sustainable professions. One of the main reasons for the tremendous progress over the last 20 years has been the collaboration and sharing of best practices, proven interventions, and lessons learned across countries. We must not lose this momentum. We must meet this moment with energy, creativity, and pioneering spirit it deserves. Because we know that progress doesn't happen by accident. It happens because we recognize moments like this one. We learn from today's challenges, and we use that knowledge to create a better tomorrow. The health of the world communities begins with optimizing your training, with recognizing your contributions, linking your performance to career advancement, ensuring you have a safe and supportive work environment and equitable pay, valuing your job satisfaction so you keep your talent and dedication on the job. Since COVID-19, it's never been clearer that nurses and midwives are the cornerstone of healthcare, from the most sophisticated city hospitals to the farthest rural villages. It's midwives and nurses who ensure life-saving services reach those millions who can't wait for a crisis to end to receive care. Without your skills, without your passion, without your dedication and innovation you bring to your work, none of our global health aims are possible. At conservative rates, the world will be short 7.6 million trained nurses and midwives by 2030. As populations age and chronic and non-communicable diseases increase, this shortage will even become more critical. There should be no lingering question that investing in midwifery and nurses saves lives and livelihoods before a crisis hits. And it's true. Investments in your education, investments in your retention, investments in re-envisioning what you can and should be doing every day in thousands of communities across the continent. Because the truth is, expanding the roles of nurses and midwives throughout Africa dramatically improves health. You're helping transform primary health care. You've proved key to reaching more women with voluntary family planning services and breast cancer screenings. You've saved thousands of lives by increasing access to surgery and keeping families healthy right now, despite the incredible added challenge of COVID-19. As we build midwifery and nursing workforces of the future, we must ensure your education is an ongoing iterative process. When you provide the majority of the world's hands-on health care, you must constantly keep your skills sharp. So this is the time. This is the time to use technology to modernize continuous professional development. This is the time to open more doors to higher education, mentorship, and peer learning opportunities. This is the time to improve nursing and midwifery working conditions, workforce retentions, job satisfaction, and career growth. To remove obstacles that keep you from working to your full potential. Thank you, Ecsacon, for inviting me to speak at this meeting. And thank you to the incredible group of nurses and midwives for your energy, for your talent, and for your drive. I know that your challenges are unique and therefore must be uniquely addressed. Related to limited career pathways, professional respect, safety and security concerns, issues of the intersection of gender and the cadre that affect the lives of so many midwives and nurses. And I know that meeting in that environment requires professional courage, confidence, and risk-taking. It's being able to translate your skills from the bedside to the public health arena. It's speaking to large audiences from a place of competence and experience. It's not just speaking of an innovation, but making it come alive. Each of you already have that courage and ability. That's why you're here. Each of you is part of the health revolution. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Mancuso, for that passion full speech.
I'm here to tell you a story of my profession. Nursing and midwifery around the world. Take a quick excursion around, and what do you perceive? Such a noble profession, such a necessary amenity, I say. A team of selfless devotees, devoted in conserving the essence of life's fragility, constantly denying themselves a certain pleasure to ascertain wellness of others. I'm not a poet. Allow me to tell you a story. It all began with such a simple principle, caring, dating back to the dateless ancient times of territorial and tribal wars, back in the days of recurrent outbreaks of pestilence and contagion, when thick clouds of despondency hovered about the heads of multitudes, completely obstructing their view of the possibility of tomorrow. Like beacons of light and hope, they endured the length of the night, tirelessly fighting back the unknown forces and contretents in the gloom, pointing to a painted hope for tomorrow, until dawn finally broke in the lives of many. Keta, I'm not a poet. Allow me to continue telling you the story. Nursing and midwifery around the world. An extension of God's healing and miracle-working hands. A helping hand extended to the people, great and small, to the arrogant and to the meek. See, the nurse and the midwife are blind. Blind to social class and status. Blind to person and persons, but holding firmly to health promotion and universal health care. In this used to be a hand contrite of malice and ill. Still, an awe to behold your unfeigned feistiness in facilitating health. Economic recession threw a major setback your way, yielding to oceans of repercussions. Navigating through the seas to the sea billows and rifts has cost you more than economies. But like a pelican carrying around its food storage bag, you still raked through your brains for solutions and potential resources. The sudden rise of COVID-19 tyrants found you unaware, and chronic felony committed against you was finally unveiled. See, I told you I'm not a poet. I'm just telling you a story. Short off your own rights to safe practice and PPE, you were sent out into battlefield like troops without weapons or shields. With the sheer rise in the contagion and sheer fall in the new threshold, the pandemic pounced on you, claiming the last remains of your assets. The lighthouse gave way and your ship crashed to the shore, causing almost everyone on deck to succumb. And then I wonder, who vindicated you at your fall? You should have left. You should have quit. You should have vanquished from the surface of the earth. So tell me the truth. Tell the world your truth. What has really kept you? Was it the efforts of man, or was it a divine hand? For when he sighed in defeat, we saw you back on your feet, fighting fearlessly to your conquest. From the discord of your people to your concord. See, I'm not a poet. I'm telling you a story. Oh, nurses and midwives around the world, so vast are your sacrifices that you make for the nation. Who's keeping count of the masses you've resuscitated? The last resource reservoir you've exhausted. Still, the bigoted, cynical fellow scoffs at you. Who'll stand and fight for you at your sessions? No more bullying, no more felony committed against you. No more groaning in the dark. Let out that shrill cry. Let your SOS be heard. You are an essential service provider, but you're also an individual in need of service. I'm not a poet. I was just telling you my story.
Thank you so much. I'm not a poet, I'm just telling you a story. Thank you very much. Next, Your Excellency, we have a video that has been recorded by the Director General of the World Health Organization. He could not be with us here today, so he sent this video, and I request that we listen to that video. Thank you.
Your Majesty, King Mswati III, dear colleagues and friends, I thank Ecsacon for the opportunity to share a few thoughts with you today. And I commend all nurses and midwives in East, Central, and Southern Africa, along with your health and care worker colleagues, for your steadfast commitment and courage during the COVID-19 pandemic. You are making a difference. At the World Health Assembly, countries have committed to strengthen, support, and safeguard nurses, midwives, and other members of the health and care workforce. WHO has developed tools to support countries to follow through on these commitments, including the Global Strategic Directions for Nursing and Midwifery, the Working for Health Action Plan, and the Global Health and Care Workers Compact. We see encouraging signs of progress. The projected global shortage of health workers needed by 2030 has shrunk from 18 million to 10 million. This is still a massive shortage. Approximately half of it is nurses and midwives, and a disproportionate burden of the shortage is in Africa. WHO remains committed to supporting all countries to strengthen their health workforce, especially in Africa. And we remain committed to supporting all nurses and midwives to ensure you receive the quality education, decent pay, safe and enabling work environment, and the respect you deserve. I thank you.
Thank you very much to the Director General of the World Health Organization, Dr. Tedros Ghebreyesus. Honorable Minister, may I request you to come up here. These are the few times where I tell the Minister what to do and she does it. To come up here and say a few remarks and introduce the Right Honorable Prime Minister.
Thank you, Program Director. I have to lower my voice a little bit. It's recovering from some cold. Your Excellency, the Acting Prime Minister, Senator Themba Masuku, Mandrabenkosi here present, members of both Houses of Parliament here present, Your Excellencies, representatives of international organizations that are here and supporting, Your Excellencies, representatives of UN agencies, Ecsacon leadership that is here present, Ecsacon local organizing teams here, distinguished conference delegates. I'm amazed just how many people are here. Private sector here present, and members of non-state actors that are present here, the media, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. My job this afternoon should have been made very, very simple, but you don't know, I'm just as excited about being here as you all are. It is an honor for me today to introduce to you the guest speaker to this 15th Ecsacon Biennial Scientific Conference themed Nursing and Midwifery Around the World, an investment to attain universal health coverage and sustain development goals. A befitting theme after what we've suffered in COVID-19. This conference finds us all recovering from the devastating effect of COVID-19 pandemic that has tested our health systems. Nurses and midwives were amongst the leading health professionals in the pandemic fight, directly in front line, and will continue to be the driving force towards prevention, mitigation of future outbreaks, as well as managing communicable and non-communicable disorders. Like many countries in sub-Saharan Africa, the Kingdom of Eswatini continues to invest in nursing and midwives as they play a critical role in health promotion, disease prevention, delivering of primary and community health care, providing care in emergency settings, and are the key drivers in the achievement of universal health coverage, as I said. We would like to thank Ecsacon for bringing the conference to the Kingdom of Eswatini, as we believe it is a critical forum for learning, for sharing scientific evidence, and adopting lessons among nurses, midwives, academics, and the entire health fraternity. Our appreciation also goes to the conference organizers and what they've been able to achieve today. Your Excellency, in healthcare, we like to strive and believe that our work and our interventions have to be evidence-based. Sitting in front of you here today is the brain power behind that evidence. Observations of evidence will be discussed here, will be presented here, will be analyzed, will be teased apart, will be documented and taken as lessons to change the future of healthcare in sub-Saharan Africa and in the world at large in this digital era that we live in. Your Excellency, before I ask you to come up here, there have been some critical things mentioned here, particularly the shortage of the nursing workforce in Africa specifically. We in this kingdom have 4 universities that are producing nurses, that are training nurses to some very high levels. And unfortunately, Your Excellency, I'm not challenging you, I'm not challenging government, I'm just stating a fact. We are able to produce large numbers of nurses, and you'll forgive us, but we're not always able to absorb all of them. I think one of the challenges that we face, not only as the Kingdom of Eswatini, but as Africa at large, is our fiscal challenges and our ability to be able to not only produce high quality, but also to be able to share with the world. You mentioned that in the US, 24% of nurses were born in Africa, but to share with the world in a way that would benefit Africa in the long run. So I would like to salute the colleges that are here, but I would like to salute the brain power that is in this room as I invite Your Excellency to come forward and address this gathering. I thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you, Program Director. No. Thank you, Program Director. I will try and raise my voice because I'm not sure if you can hear me from where I am. If you can. Your Royal Highnesses present here, Venerable Chiefs, Minister for Health, members of both Houses of Parliament, the Right Reverend Canon Manda Dlamini, the Manzini Regional Administrator, Prince Gija, the WHO Director General, Dr. Tedros Ghebreyesus, Director General of East, Central and Southern Africa Health Community, Professor Yoswa Dambisia, President of the East, Central and Southern Africa College of Nursing, Ms. Kwabi, yes. President of the International Council of Nurses, Dr. Pamela Cipriano, President and CEO of John Hopkins Program for International Education in Gynecology and Obstetrics. Obstetrics. I'm good. Good. Swatini Chief Nursing Officer, Dr. Glory Msivi, distinguished delegates, media representatives, ladies and gentlemen. You know, sometimes I can't pronounce this health the terminology because I'm an engineer myself, so there's an area where I can pronounce the terminology well. Sanbonani, and a very warm welcome to the Kingdom of Eswatini. Before I read the Prime Minister's speech, I just want to declare my deep admiration for the health sector, nurses, midwives, and everybody in the health sector. I thought I would make this declaration because I stand here as a survivor, a cancer survivor. And it was in 2005 when I was operated on in Geneva, where I used to work. And when I thought these were my last minutes, because I had terrible internal bleeding after the operation, there was a nurse who sat next to me when I was counting my sins and checking what would happen, where I was going. And she was French, but she spoke English, and she held my hand, and I think I was giving up. She held my hand and she said, "Don't give up." And so this was a nurse and not an engineer. So this shows how important this sector is and how much I admire this health sector. And having said that, I just want to also say that seeing so many people in this hall after COVID-19 is very exciting. We started using other forms of communication where you could not see the person or touch the person, but now we will continue to shake hands and we're together, and this is good for all of us. The Kingdom of Eswatini is proud once again to host the East, Central and Southern Africa College of Nursing delegates for the 15th Biennial Scientific Conference and 7th Quadrennial General Assembly. It has already been mentioned that on the 17th of August 1998, we were accorded a similar privilege where we hosted the 5th Scientific Ecsacon Conference and the Biennial General Meeting here in the Kingdom of Eswatini under the theme Improving Adolescent Health, Nurses and Midwives Working in Partnership with Communities. This was one of the most memorable days that left an indelible mark as we witnessed experts in nursing and midwifery science sharing scientific knowledge and best practices that aimed at improving the health of our people, the people we serve. It is therefore such an honor to welcome you once again to this great kingdom, the Kingdom of Eswatini. Our countries have made tremendous strides in addressing adolescent health issues, which because of HIV and AIDS, suffered a setback in the year 2000 until the discovery of antiretroviral drugs, which became a solution to member states. The extraordinary commitment, selflessness, passion, non-partisanship, and dedication demonstrated by nurses and midwives in addressing health challenges faced by communities and meeting regional and global targets cannot be overemphasized. You are truly one of a kind. The entry point, as the canon said, comes through you. Just like the exit point. And I told my story earlier on that I almost exited. But I'm still going to exit just like any one of you through the health systems, and the nurses will be there for us. The Kingdom of Eswatini, just like other countries in the ECSA region, is committed to attaining universal health coverage. In this regard, we are cognizant that you as nurses and midwives are essential to achieving the universal health services, or coverage, through primary health care. You are often the first health care staff to interact with patients, and sometimes the only health professional a patient will ever see. I saw one nurse here who gave me my first injection in 1965. She's somewhere here. And she was dancing around here, and I got very excited. That was my first injection. You provide care, support, and treatment for the sick, the injured, the dying, and support their families and communities. Please take a moment to clap hands for yourselves on this critical service you provide to the people. The change in disease burdens and emerging new diseases, such as the coronavirus, has heightened the need to strengthen our healthcare, how healthcare is delivered in the ECSA region and the world at large. This also challenges the nursing and midwifery professions to embrace science and innovation as they constantly search for solutions for the new and complex challenges they face in the production of nurses and midwives education, leadership and management, research as well as clinical practice. The sub-Saharan Africa region has grown economically over the last 2 decades, noting an impressive growth of over 300% rate of total GDP since 2000, has been accompanied by increases in health spending and significant gains in health outcomes, with improvement to healthcare and health outcomes being directly supported by the region's economic growth. Despite the progress, the region still struggles with the highest disease burden in the world, including an emerging dual burden of communicable and non-communicable diseases. This calls for investing in nursing and midwifery professions if we are to attain the universal health coverage as well as sustainable development goals. I think at this point I do want to remind those in policy of the Abuja Declaration, I think of 2001, which decided that 15% of our national budget should be dedicated to health. And I can say at this point that the health sector in the national budget commands second position after the Ministry of Education. So we continue to support this, and I had the request that we should continue to support. We will make sure that we continue to support the health. In the same vein, the COVID-19 pandemic has profoundly affected the nursing education and practice. This pandemic has exposed gaps and vulnerabilities of health systems and has presented important lessons for future preparedness, lessons that all of you have experienced these past 2 difficult years. This conference, therefore, comes at an opportune time to share lessons learned and learn from one another to contribute to attaining universal health coverage and the Sustainable Development Goals. We cannot succeed without each other, and we need to engage with respect and dignity while seeking guidance from the norms and principles that have evolved through time, experience, and collective wisdom. With these remarks, I wish you all fruitful deliberations during this conference. It is now my singular honor and privilege to declare this conference officially opened, and I thank you all, and may God bless you.
Thank you once again. A big round of applause for His Excellency. At this point in time, thank you very much, Your Excellency. May I humbly request, this is a request, that the high table be joined by Reverend Canon Dlamini, because we have, on behalf of these great people here, just a symbol of thanks to you for gracing this important event. Dr. Masugu here will be presenting you with a small token Swati appreciation. Please, Mfundisi, may you please come up here and join this front table. So we shall start. Since he is standing, we shall start with Mfundisi, Canon Dlamini. Thank you so much. We will then move on to the Ecsacon President. Thank you very much. Next, we will request Professor Yosua Dabisio. The Honorable ICN President, Dr. Pamela Yona. Dr. Leslie Crusoe. And next, Umdala Nkosi, the Prince, the Regional Administrator for the Manzini region. The Honorable Minister for Health, Senator Nkosi. And may I respectfully request the Honorable DPM to receive from the Honorable Minister for Health. I like that. Please teach me how to do it. Thank you very much. At this point in time, allow me, Your Excellency, to read this very important announcement. Lunch arrangement. Is this still lunch? I'm not responsible. You danced too long. Okay. 2 serving points will be at the back of this hall. Which is the back? Is it that side or that side? This side is the back. 2 serving points will be on the side hall on the right side. Right side. Is it that side? Yes, right side. So you use my right and left. 2 serving points at hall number 8. There will be 2 serving points at hall number 8. They will show us where hall number 8 is. 1 serving point, hall number 9. This one is for VVIPs. Then 1 serving point, left wing restaurant. Again, they will show us. 2 serving points at Mugambi. I think it's Mugambi restaurant. 2 serving points at Skyview. Skyview somewhere. The Skyview somewhere. They will show us the ushers. 1 serving point at the right wing restaurant. And 2 serving points at the main restaurant. I think students have been taken care of. So at this point in time, Your Excellency,
Msakatweni channel yeMaswati ngikhanyisile mabuza lo sanifisela kubukela lokuhle etinhlelo ezilandzelako ngisaleni kahle.